Come on, Kamek, just give me what I want. That blue shell was cheap. I should have won that. What happened? Where am I? Oh god, I don't feel so good. How long have I been playing Mario Kart? 2 weeks? What do I pay you for, Earl? Should have told me sooner. Ow! 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 Okay, no time for a cold open or intro. We got 2 chapters to get through because someone didn't do their job. Earl. But it wouldn't be right without quickly talking about the new volume cover that will be hitting Japanese store shelves soon. That being Volume 22, Saki's Introduction Volume, which has a new original art piece featuring a random assortment of girlfriends all having fun on the beach on what looks like a bright summer day. Nope. Not taking the bait. This video is probably long enough as is. Just look at that long timeline bar down there. But what appeared as a random assortment of girlfriends for the cover, what we later learned is that this is another connecting piece of art, as the series illustrator Nozawa confirmed on her Twitter that it extends to the backside of the manga as well. So we'll probably see more girlfriends there. But we're at 30 girlfriends at the time of this volume with Saki. No way with only 8 on the front here that they're putting 22 more plus Rentaro on the back. So much like volume 14, 15, and 16, it looks like they are doing one big continuous connecting art piece across the covers and backs, which is super cool. I'm a big fan of these when mangas do them. Also, isn't it weird how they're doing this connecting volume cover piece at the exact same time the English release from 7 Seas is releasing the first time they did this with 14, 15, and 16?
Coincidence? I think not!
Yeah, probably is just a coincidence. Now, let's officially get started. I'm Moonlight150, and this is my double review of the latest 100 Girlfriends manga chapters, Chapter 216, The Distance Between Friends, and Chapter 217, The Reason I Sing. Be sure to support the Scanlation team for the hard work they have been doing, as they have now gotten all the chapters on that new site I shared last time. So everything is now right with the universe with all 100 Girlfriends chapters readily available to read anytime. And go support the official release of the series in your region as well, so we can keep this thing going. And maybe we can eventually get to that summer that they are taunting us with that new volume cover. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Habits die hard. Now, on to the first chapter. It's Kimari's focus chapter following her introduction to the family, and it seems she has found a new best friend in Usa-chan of all characters. As they end up needing to go to the same department store, they wind up making an outing of it and become overnight besties in the process. Which continues on to the next day as Usa-chan is more than happy to greet her new best friend. But those pesky societal rules rear their ugly faces as Kimari reminds her that it may be inappropriate for a teacher and a student to be so friendly with one another. And for the first time since Kimari's introduction, I agree with her on the rules here. It would raise many questions with a teacher and a student acting this way during school hours. And after a quick apology of putting a line in the sand, Usa-chan heads on her way to her next class. But Kimari begins to second guess how she handled that interaction, especially given how she knows how Usa-chan is. So with a quick turnaround, Kimari turns to apologize, but I think Usa-chan really handled that well. Our big bunny girl has really grown since her intro chapter, and surely she can take a little backset like, god damn it, not again. Though thankfully Meru and Himika are nearby to comfort her as Kimari hides in shame as what she had done to her new friend. This begins to eat away at Kimari as she is working, thinking about how that must have been whiplash to Usa-chan from going one day to hanging out and being best of friends, to putting someone at arm's length. And then she also struggles with the reality that they are teacher and student, and how she wishes they were both students together so they could be friends with no societal barrier between them. After a bit of inner monologuing, Kimari comes to the unfortunate decision that for the sake of both of them, and the rules at large, they need to stop being friends. So Kimari invites Usa-chan out back and plans to put her out of her misery Old Yeller style. Okay, not really, but close enough as she breaks Usa-chan's heart with saying that they shouldn't be friends anymore, which naturally sends Usa-chan into a state of loneliness shock that makes her keel over. But in that moment of weakness, Usa-chan spotted an even bigger moment of weakness, as she catches Kimari's expression and how much breaking up their friendship is hurting her just as much to do this, which makes Usa-chan come to a screeching halt mid-death by desolation, quite literally. And then in comes the heart of the chapter. I won't give some half-assed summary as Nakamura as well as the Scanlation team does a great job here with Usa-chan's speech, so I encourage you to go read it for yourself if you haven't already. I mean, it has been 2 weeks since this chapter came out, so you have no excuse. For me, I blame Mario. But we really see the growth of Usa-chan's character in full display here. Not only is she able to pull herself out of her own death by desolation, but is also able to see it in someone else who is suffering and putting their suffering over her own. She even goes as far as blaming herself for messing up yet another friendship, as she still carries that trauma from before joining Rentaro's family. And this is where we learn that Usa-chan and Kimari are more alike than I think many of us realized. These two are socially inept when it comes to the concept of friendship, and what it really means to be friends with someone. I think some of us can relate to that on some level. After Usa-chan's speech and ultimatum, Kimari comes clean that she really doesn't want to end their friendship, but is still feeling the fear of how to treat her given the whole teacher and student situation between them. After a quick hug of understanding, we see Usa-chan admit that she is still working on herself by showing that she still doesn't know what is just right for how close friends should be, but is at least aware that being too close 24/7 would drive people away. The lesson she learned back in her adventure with Mimimi not so long ago. And now she's passing on this knowledge and experience with Kimari, and says that they must learn together to find the perfect balance of being friends all the time, as well as still being teacher and student. Kimari does push back with saying that figuring all this out regarding friendship is too much work, and that she isn't worth it. But that just gets Usa-chan laughing that she doesn't know how to do any of that either, and that they can do it together, ending in a nice hug of rekindling of a friendship with a new understanding of one another. And the next day we see the first step in that understanding their new friendship by keeping things cordial between teacher and student, and with a suggestion from Kimari that she learned from reading a book about making friends, which is a lot more depressing when you think about it, not only for the fact that she was reading a book on how to make friends, but the fact that she read this book as a child and ultimately failed because she still didn't make any friends until now in her adult life at age 27.
Damn.
With the suggestion being that they can have their own hidden message towards one another, showing that their friendship is as strong as ever. And that is to wink at one another while remaining professional, which is only made better by the fact that Kimari is someone who just can't wink. Let's just chalk that up to the fact that she's never had friends to wink at for that one. And with that, they are one step closer to being the best of friends and in their own minds squealing like cheerful schoolgirls to the tune probably so high-pitched that only dogs can hear them. Which, Usa-chan is a schoolgirl, so I guess it fits. But yeah, as you can tell from my set of minimum jokes throughout the video, I adore this chapter. It's the perfect kind of character development for not only the new girlfriend, but an older one too. Especially when it was so out of nowhere, and I don't think anyone would have guessed that these two would have so much in common. It's obvious in hindsight when you really break down the characters, but I don't think anyone saw this coming. Nakamura just knows his girls too damn well. I hope we see more between these two going forward. But there's no time to waste because it is finally time. You heard me on the ranking video, and now it's finally here. Himika finally got her own solo development chapter. Nakamura watches my videos, I'm convinced of it now. Anyway, let's jump in. Himika is out on another vanity reassurance stroll rocking those sunglasses I loved back in her Fuller Daily Life chapter, as she catches a crowd of people admiring a performance of hers up on a TV screen in the city, performing the only song we have ever seen her perform. Is Kiki a one-hit wonder? That's a topic for another day. But in the middle of basking in her abnormal glory, a disturbance is felt in the force as she hears a ping of ridicule from someone in the audience, where we encounter what I can only describe as American Mimimi. Tattooed American Mimimi too at that. And without any warning or preamble, American Mimimi here begins to sing in the middle of town square. And her singing is filled with lyrics so romantic, so sensual, and so English that, verily, I, though born upon the soil of America, and reared in the very cradle of the English tongue, find myself so utterly unequipped, nay, catastrophically unqualified, to convey the sheer magnitude of what I have witnessed. The words to describe them dwell in realms of so ineffable, so exquisitely beyond the confines of my mortal vocabulary. To attempt explanation would be akin to painting the Mona Lisa with a crayon, an exercise in both futility and public embarrassment. Thus, this renders me unable to adequately communicate them to you, my esteemed and discerning audience. You'll just have to take my word for it. And after that a cappella performance outshining Kiki's performance on screen, everyone is drawn into the new talent before them. But this new talent has no time to deal with the peasants as she heads right over to Himika and hits her with a drive-by hit-and-run of an existential crisis, asking her what the purpose of her singing is. The next day, Himika is nowhere to be seen by the rest of the family, as they all wonder why she isn't eating lunch with them, or that she also didn't walk to school with them either, and everyone is worried. Also, apparently the American Mimimi lookalike is named Utorma Umama. No, I can't say this. Utarma Umarma. Yeah, I'm not saying that name again. I'm just calling her American Mimimi, as she has apparently disappeared from the public eye and everyone on social media is wondering where this pop sensation has disappeared to. Now, I guess it makes sense. If someone like Taylor Swift just up and vanished, the internet would be thrown into chaos as well. Actually, you know what? That's even easier to say. Let's just call American Mimimi Taylor Swift for the remainder of this video. But all is not lost, as Himika's classmate Meru did say she was in class, but was surrounded in a fairy tale-like aura that kept Meru at arm's length away, with no want of being approached. and being the good friend and harem mate that she is, Meru chose not to intervene. But hearing that one of his girlfriends is feeling an iota of unpleasantness, Rentaro springs into action and goes looking for her, which he eventually does, finding her on a bench far away from the usual rooftop to eat alone and stew on her existential crisis. Telling him that she'd rather be alone right now, but not taking no for an answer from an upset girlfriend, Rentaro refuses and joins her on the bench. Which, I gotta admit, is a bit of a gray area as far as relationship advice goes, as he reminds her that being her boyfriend, he's going to be there to help her and support his girlfriend no matter what, even if she does end up lashing out in anger at him. Rentaro's endless love for his girlfriends wins Himika over, and she begins to go over what transpired 2 days ago. Just gonna make a quick note of that. And now here she is wondering what her reason for singing is, and this has been bothering her so much that recently at practice lessons she's been performing poorly, a very first for her. Then we really begin to dive deep into Himika as a character, as we learn that she has come to the realization that she really just has been kind of doing this whole songstress thing without any thought or drive behind it, basically just doing it on autopilot. We even get more of Himika's backstory as she was a singing prodigy from a very young age, where her parents immediately enrolled her into a singing school as a toddler, which only progressed to the teachers of that school saying that they have nothing left to teach her at elementary school age. And because of this whirlwind of an upbringing, she is now looking back on this that she never gave much thought to her whole ordeal of being a songstress. She just did it. So to now help give meaning to her singing, Rentaro looks to help to offer insight into possible new reasons to instill in her singing. In fact, he'll list off 100. Ha, hey, look at that, like the title of the series. Cute. After a montage of a couple of reasons for Himika wanting to sing, like the fact that she enjoys it, it makes money, or the fact she wants to be seen as an abnormal talent like Kenshi Yonezu, they eventually end after some time passes going over 100 different reasons, all ending with Himika giving some form of excuse that can't be the only sole reason for her to sing. And yes, they even make a joke about how they talked about 100 different things, and yet the lunch bell hasn't rung yet because this whole series takes place in a hyperbolic chamber from Dragon Ball Z apparently. It's a good enough explanation as anything at this rate. But even after 100 reasons and 100 excuses later, Himika doesn't feel any more empowered as to why she sings, which Rentaro then turns on her head by saying that because every reason she turned down has a thoughtful meaning and reason behind it, means that they all have some importance to her. It's not just one singular large reason. It's 100 small different reasons why someone can enjoy something, and that all these reasons are all unique to her and her alone. After this revelation, Himika is back to the town square with a newfound confidence in herself, where she does happen to meet Taylor Swift once more, where she hits Himika with the question again of what is the purpose that you sing, and Himika replies with a confident answer that singing is who she is as a person, and begins to sing out loud for everyone to hear. And at last Taylor Swift hears what she wants to hear, Kiki singing with full conviction in her singing. Satisfied with what she has accomplished, Taylor Swift wanders off into the sunset. But with Kiki, the renowned songstress, having her cover blown by singing out in public, she and Rentaro jolt off to ditch the mob of fans, where Himika begins to thank Rentaro for being so supportive and helping her find her reason for singing. But of course the ever so humble Rentaro says he didn't do much and that it was all her, which the two lovebirds decide to kiss in exchange to thank one another, and we end on this great smiling Kiki picture. Alright, we're all caught up. After a long absence, we're finally back in the groove. Though these definitely weren't as humorous as others because, well, both chapters dealt with some serious topics, like managing new friendships and finding meaning in what you do. Both are which great entries in what this series' strength is, that it's not afraid to give a whole chapter to develop an older character. Himika has been around for roughly 70 chapters, which is pushing around a year and a half since her debut.
7
Other girlfriends have joined since then, and here she is finally getting some character development. But if this chapter made you a Himika fan, I just want you to remember that I was here first. I was a Himika stan long before all of you. I knew her potential. My only question and I guess gripe with this chapter, like, who is this Taylor Swift character? And why did this random pop sensation from another country care so much about Kiki singing? And if she noticed she sang without conviction, why did she care so much to travel to Japan to confront her like that? I wish we did get something from this character about her motives, but it would have just got in the way of properly giving Himika her time in the spotlight. But beyond that, I don't want to ramble that much more. I want to help Earl get this out as soon as possible. I know I'm late by my own normal standards. As much as I am loving these character development chapters for reading them, they are a pain to write these videos for because I don't have jokes to work off of, so this took a little bit longer than normal to write. Hopefully we're not too far behind in the schedule. I've been Moonlight150, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next chapter, which seems to involve a game somehow. Guess we'll be putting my gamer skills to the test in the next chapter. But until then...
Das war ein Befehl!